Hi, my name's Neil. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. Now, if you watched my last video, I was talking about these shoes. These are Nike SB Blazers. I was talking about how they're very good, very hard wearing, and how much I like them. One shortfall that I have with pretty much all my skate shoes, and I'm sure any skaters can sympathize, is that sooner or later there is a part of your skate shoe that is going to start to fall apart. It's inevitable. There's something that's going to start going. For me, most often, as I said in that last video, it's the toe caps. At the same time as toe caps, and possibly more annoying, is laces getting broken. So those two things really annoy me about skate shoes, and it's one of those things that you would think after all this time something better would have come along to sort that out. Now, the first thing, toe caps, the way that I deal with those and the way that I have dealt with them for the last 30 years, not that I've been skating a full 30 years, but I would say like 30 years ago-ish, when I was younger, in the 80s, we would always burn our shoes out in the same way that you do today. And what we would use to try and fix them up is this kind of shoe repair glue. And it's actually called Shoe Goo. And I have got some right here. There we go. And it's actually Shoe Goo as a brand name. It's American stuff. It's been around for years, as I say, at least probably 30 years, because when I was younger this was what we would use as well. And this stuff is like a tube of toothpaste or normal glue. You kind of squeeze it out and then spread it about, wait for it to go hard, ideally about 24 hours, and it turns into hard rubber. It's good stuff, and I've not really found anything better so far. So I always try and use this stuff. This stuff is black. You also get it in a clear color. When the clear goes off hard and starts to get a bit dirty, it starts to go a bit yellowy, which looks a bit gross. But this stuff is black. As you can see on these shoes, I've actually put some on, and that's that black stuff you see around there. What I tend to do at the points that really wear badly and just before the shoe's about to break, I will put some Shoe Goo on there to try and get a little bit extra life out of it. And so I'm going to show you kind of the wear points on these shoes. And really, as I said before, it's from my knee sliding. So I skate transition, bowls, vert ramps. And when I bail from a trick, I slide onto my knees, onto my knee pads. And when you do that, your toes get kind of scraped along the ground, because your feet are kind of behind you or under you, and they get scraped along the ground like that. And there's just this key point. I don't know if the side profile really helps to show it. I'll do some close-ups though. But there's this like key point that just gets burnt out, and I need to fill that gap. So Shoe Goo is the stuff that I use, and that may be useful to somebody else. So I'll put a link in the description below for anybody that wants to buy some. Now, hopefully you can see on this shoe that rubber is wearing through to the point where it's actually breaking through to the suede underneath where it meets the rubber toe cap. So I'm going to fill that up with some Shoe Goo in my kind of normal way, and hopefully that will last a little bit longer. That's one side, and the other shoe is not quite as bad. Still got a bit left from before, but the Shoe Goo fills the gaps quite nicely and it does its job. So it's not really a secret, it's just perhaps something that people haven't heard from before, and I thought I'd pass that on because I find it really useful. Now, as I mentioned, the second problem is laces getting torn, burned out. And again, it's from knee sliding. When you're sliding along, mainly on concrete, to be honest, the laces get chewed up and torn, and then I end up tying them back together in knots if I can. But it happens so often, it's so annoying, it's just ridiculous. Get through laces like water. So you end up spending a lot of money on laces, which is irritating. And there doesn't seem to be many options to fix that issue. Now, I have seen online a few times some Kevlar laces that are supposed to be really good, but they always look like kind of work boot laces, that kind of yellow and brown stripy sort of look, and I don't like the look of those. I just don't think they would look very good. I'm very tempted to use them just for the sake of the utilitarian purpose, you know, because to me how it looks is a lot less of a problem versus how well it performs. But still, you know, I don't like the look of them, so I'm less tempted to buy them. That was until I stumbled across some new laces. I don't know how long they've been around, but I stumbled across them and bought some. And you'll know in my last video, if you saw it, I mentioned about the Footprint insoles, and I've talked about them before. So Footprint, who make the insoles that I use, they have produced some laces, and here they are. And they are called FP Forever laces, anti-rip shoe laces, rubber core ballistic laces. So they are designed to be long-lasting laces, and so I thought I'd buy some and try them out on those shoes that I use for concrete skating and just see if they do last any longer. So I'm going to open them up and have a look at them. They are kind of a weird kind of material. It's really hard to describe, but they sort of look like waxed laces, but the material is kind of plasticky. So they are flat laces, but the material is kind of plasticky. And it's kind of like it. I think it really is ballistic nylon. So the kind of nylon material that backpacks are made out of, it's that kind of material. So it's really hard to know what to say about them, but they're black and they've got like you can feel like there's a core down the middle of them. So I think that is what they said was a rubber core ballistic laces. So what it says is, normal nylon laces rip in less than a day. The age-old problem with skate shoes is now solved. Upgraded ballistic thread alone rips in a day. FP rubber core greatly outlasts anything in the history of skateboarding. Once the lace rips, the inner core kicks in and wears away at the same rate as the rubber on your outsole. So they're not denying that this outer stuff does rip, but what they're saying is the rubber core in the middle doesn't break or wears out in the same kind of time as your outer sole. Interesting. I'm slightly skeptical, but having no other options, I'm going to try them out and I will report back. So I'm going to put them into my Nike SB Blazers. I'm going to put some fresh Shoe Goo on the toes, and I'm going to go for a skate session at my local Crystal Palace pool and see how they turn out. Right, so that was a fun session at Crystal Palace. Skated pretty well, I think. Managed to get some good 50/50s in the deep end, a rock and roll in the shallow end, which is good. You know, it was good fun, good crowd of people too. So I really enjoyed it, and it put the laces to the test. First off, I want to say they did survive the session. There were no breaks or anything in them. There is a decent amount of wear right in the usual spot, which is right in that eyelet there. That eyelet itself is kind of worn through that ballistic nylon, and it's kind of exposed threads and what I presume is that rubber core that they talk about. But the laces didn't break, so that's good. They'll last at least another session, perhaps. You can see that the surface of the laces on the outside showing face, they've all gone very shiny, like they are wearing, or they kind of, perhaps they heated up, because it's nylon. Nylon tends to melt when it's under friction. I've had nylon shoelaces before where they literally melt when they get slid across cement. So they've all gone kind of shiny on the front there. You know, that's kind of expected. That's the wear points. But they stayed in one piece, which is the main thing. So they lasted at least one session. I don't know how long those rubber cores are going to last on that really strong wear point on the eyelet where they usually break for me. So maybe I'll keep an eye on them. Now, also something really odd. I couldn't do these laces up and keep them done up. They seem to stay loose. You can see that there. You can tie a knot in them and pull it tight, but it just releases again. It releases itself. So you can't tie a tight knot in these laces, which kind of renders them useless. I kind of found myself adjusting them, you know, trying to sort of keep pulling them tight because they are constantly loose. The bow that you tie in your laces, usually it relies on the outside of the lace to grip itself and pulls tight in a knot. But because of this weird ballistic nylon and the fact that it's very slippery on the outside, you can't tie a tight knot in them. It just loosens itself, which I find to be really odd. And ultimately, I think it's going to render them kind of useless. I mean, the laces survived the session, but I had to have them loose at the top, so I can't pull the laces tight and do them up tight because they just fall loose. So kind of useless until they change that coating to be a bit grippier. Perhaps it needs to be a slightly more rubbery coating, at least at the point where you tie them up. And they're not going to be very good. They're not going to pull tight for anybody. And yeah, they're just not going to be useful. So there you have it. I mean, that's a honest review of these footprint laces, and I can't really say much more than that. I'm not even sure I'm going to continue using them because I can't even tighten them up. But it was an interesting test for the wear test, which meant they last perhaps one session longer. I don't know how long they will last in the long run, but I can't really say I'm going to be testing them that much further because they can't be done up tight. And as for the Shoe Goo, that lasted as per normal. It lasts a session or so for me, and then I have to put a bit more on. So pretty much every session I put a little bit more on, but it makes the shoes last a bit longer. It's kind of just preventing that bit that's worn through to the threads of the suede, prevents that getting any further worn. So I don't mind applying a little bit of Shoe Goo every time I go and skate the concrete parks with these shoes or any of my shoes. So anyway, I will leave it at that. I hope you found the video interesting or useful. Let me know what you think in the comments. Ultimately, as I said in the last video, I really like these shoes, and high tops would be better. I like the big bumpers on the toes. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that one, and I talk a lot more about the shoes themselves. But until the next one, thank you for watching. Leave me a comment. Just tell me what you think. If you've skated these before, how you found them. Be interested to hear from the non-transition skaters, how well they worked for them. And that's about it. So until the next video, thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. Take care.